Hello everybody, welcome to Critical Chat, where I chat about the most critical of gaming news. I'm your host, Dylan Cash, and without further ado, let's talk about video games. I won't lie to you, it feels good being back with this series. It's been dead here on the channel for quite some time now, but I felt what better time to resurrect it than E3. That's right everybody, E3 2019 is about a month away now, and I'm a little bit excited about it, I'm not gonna lie. So I thought with today's episode I'd just kind of focus in on E3, on the electronic triple. Let's kind of just talk where we're at. There really hasn't been much news as of late regarding video games, but I thought just talking about the state of things right now and how I feel going towards E3, and just, yeah, let's just have a little chit chat. That's all we're doing. So yeah, the electronic triple, E3 2019, again, is coming up, and I'm very excited about it, but this E3 feels a little bit different. Feels a little weird, I won't lie to you. Sony not being there is definitely a big part in that. Actually, it's probably the only reason why it feels weird, to be honest with you. I mean, obviously, EA not fully being there, although I think it's a good idea, still kind of feels a little weird. It's going to be weird not... that was always the way to open E3, you know, you always jumped into that pitiful EA press conference, and then the hype ensues after that, but not having that is going to be strange. I think Microsoft is the first press conference this year, so E3 will definitely start a little better, but again, not having EA is also a little weird. Now, the past couple of years for Sony have been strange, to say the least, especially last year. Their press conference last year, although I thought was great, I thought that they had enough there to warrant that said press conference. Resident Evil 2 showing that off, Control, Neo 2, was that announced as well? Just lots of cool little surprises here and there, and of course, The Last of Us Part 2, one of the best looking games I've ever seen. Also, my goodness, what is that samurai game called again? That looks really cool as well. You see, Sony's in this place right now. The reason why I call that the samurai game is because Sony's in this place right now where I'm kind of like starting to lose those games. I mean, obviously, The Last of Us is going to be a huge tentpole, huge seller for the PS5, and that samurai game, which I'm going to keep calling that samurai game because Sekiro's kind of dominated that space right now. The other samurai game, Ghost of Tsushima, it's kind of escaped the limelight, in my opinion. I think a lot of their games have kind of faded a bit. Death Stranding, you know, it's kind of hard to forget that game because of how Kojima, you know, projects that game and how he talks about it on Twitter and social media and things of that sort. Even Norman Reedus himself talks about it, and it hasn't really escaped the limelight. But the other titles, I just think that Sony is in a weird spot. How do they show these games off, and when are these games coming out? I always assumed, you know, going into this year before, you know, Sony made the plans not to show up at E3, that they were going to reveal release dates for these games, and maybe one or two of them were coming out this year, but very doubtful on that, excuse me. I think that this year is going to be kind of a slower year for Sony, and I don't think that PS5 has anything to do with that, to be honest. I just think that they didn't schedule these things properly. Now, I do think that these games will show up on PS5, but I also think they'll be on PS4 as well. They said at E3 last year that those games were running on PS4, so I have no reason to throw disbelief at that. I think that the games are going to be for PS4, and I just think that they're not ready, and I think that that is the key to why Sony is not at E3 this year, is because they can show trailers for these games, but people don't want that. People get upset about that when they just show the same games, quote unquote, the same games, even though they're... I want more of those games. We need to see more of those games. I want to see more levels and more diversity in The Last of Us. I want to see more awesome locations and Ghost of Tsushima. There is a lot to see in those two titles alone. Not to mention third-party pickups and surprises. I think that Sony, out of every company, deserves a press conference. It's just people complain about it too much, and again, I think that backlash really kind of changed things a little bit. And also, one of the heads at Sony, Sean Layden, has been notorious in hating the idea of E3 and the actual company itself. I think it's EOS or ESO? ESO, I believe. They're kind of shady a little bit, and there's kind of some weird, you know, behind doors deals that are being made to show off how much of this and how much of that on the floor and everything like that. And I kind of get it. I kind of understand where Sean Layden is coming from. E3 is it's scary. It is really, really scary. I mean, just, I can't even imagine from a developer standpoint putting your game on the show floor and then everyone skipping it and going to something else instead. That is difficult, and I think that fighting for attention is a hard place, and I don't think Sony needs to do that per se. They could just have a state of play and show off what they want to show off. Now, there is a state of play coming up in the next couple of days, and I unfortunately won't be able to react to that. I have work, I have a job, I'm sorry, but I will be talking about it for sure. But it's interesting that it's coming up now, and I would assume that they were saving a state of play for around E3 time, maybe like June 10th, maybe after E3, like June 15th or something like that. But no, there's a state of play happening, unless they plan on doing a month by month, which is really, really cool. But I don't know. Sony has been kind of saying that there might be something happening around E3 time. I'm not sure. I'm thinking it's a state of play. I'm thinking we're just gonna get a beefy state of play, and they're gonna show off some new titles. Actually, the state of play that's happening in a couple of days has promised that we are going to see something new, Medieval, and something new. Now, Medieval, I don't really care about too much, but it is interesting that they're showing it off now. It is interesting that they're trying to get people's attention and trying to kind of veer things off of the infamous E3 banner. EA also not being a part of E3, although they've never really been a part of E3, but not holding a press conference feels strange, as I mentioned earlier, but it's kind of a welcome strangeness, to be honest with you. As I mentioned, EA has always been sort of a pitiful showing. Last year especially was just... it was really bad. It was actually terrible and kind of hard to watch. There wasn't really anything worth sticking around for. It was just kind of like meh. This year they have Star Wars and that's it. So I'm guessing that EA Play is going to be mainly about Star Wars and sort of the festivities around that title. There's probably going to be a couple of demos. I'm guessing that they're going to stream some of this stuff. I'm not 100% sure what their plans are exact. I think it's like a 2-day event or a 3-day event, a little bit before E3, going into the beginning of E3, and they're just going to be playing games, I guess. Kind of like a treehouse thing. I'm not 100% sure, as I mentioned, but that kind of works. I think that EA has found a good sort of middle ground there to get people excited, because then that they can tune into what they want to see. If they promise, hey, we're going to be playing Star Wars Lost Jedi or whatever that game is called at this hour, then that gamer would tune in for that specific hour and not have to go through a slog of FIFA or a slog of Madden. They could just tune into what they want, and that works. I think that that is smart from EA, and I think it makes sense from EA. Someone that has announced a press conference recently is Square Enix. Now, Square Enix has kind of been hit or miss at E3. They've shown some crazy things off. Last year they had like a weird Square Enix Direct sort of thing, and it was just bad, to say the least. I think I don't really remember much from it. Babylon's Fall, Tomb Raider they showed the same trailer they showed at the Microsoft press conference of Kingdom Hearts 3. Just kind of weird, kind of out of place, didn't really need it, but they are taking Sony's spot this year, that 6 p.m. slot, and I think that's interesting. Do you think that they're going to be showing something special? Perhaps a Final Fantasy VII Remake, or maybe an Avengers title? We've been promised these things before. I'm not going to get my hopes up too much on Square Enix showing big things off. I'm curious if this is just going to be a like 15-minute little digital direct, or are they actually getting on stage and talking about these things? I have no idea. I don't know what to expect. Square Enix really hasn't said anything as far as that they're going to be at E3 and they're taking that 6 p.m. slot. We shall see what happens. I'm hesitantly excited. I'm hesitantly excited for Square Enix because they always have the potential to shine, but they never really seem to. Then we have Microsoft. Now, Microsoft has some big shoes to fill. They're the big boys at E3 now. I think they've always kind of been, to be honest with you, but a lot of people have kind of veered towards Sony and winning E3 or whatever, and not that it even matters. Who cares who wins E3? But this year, I think it does kind of matter. Microsoft does kind of have to show off as much cool third-party stuff as possible. I mean, they've always done that, though. It makes me think, like, how is Microsoft going to top themselves from last year? I very, very much enjoyed their press conference last year. I thought they showed a crazy diversity of games and just interesting titles. Seeing Devil May Cry, seeing Jump Force, seeing Cyberpunk 2077, seeing all those titles in the same press conference was honestly quite special. And honestly, I don't need much more than that. Just show me more cool third-party stuff and Halo Infinite. Halo Infinite, for some reason, is my most anticipated game to see. I don't own an Xbox, I haven't played Halo since Halo 3, so I don't really know why, but just the idea, again, I've had this idea for so long, ever since I was a kid, but an open world where you start here and you can go all the way around. You walk one direction and you will meet up at the direction that you started in, and I just think that's so cool if they do it right. And I just really want to see Halo Infinite. I really want to see this new engine that they have. I can't even, Slipstream, is it called? I can't even remember the engine, but that's really interesting. I love the idea of kind of reinvigorating new franchises. We saw what happened with God of War. We saw what Phil Spencer has to say about that. He wants that for Xbox. He wants those kinds of tentpole titles for Xbox, and it makes sense here. I think that Halo Infinite could possibly be that. Also, Microsoft perhaps will show off new hardware, and that's where things get really exciting, because when there's rumors and when there's things circulating around new hardware, I think that there's also going to be games that are on said hardware, which is what is most exciting. Even Ubisoft hosting a press conference, we're going to see a new Assassin's Creed possibly that's going to be showing up on a PS5 and a new Xbox. That is awesome. That is really cool and crazy and kind of scary that we're probably going to be seeing a lot of next-gen titles during E3, and I think that Xbox is going to show off the most. I think we're going to see Halo Infinite, and it's going to kind of blow our minds. I think we're going to be like, this is a game? This is what gaming is going to look like in the future? And there's always sort of that moment during, you know, the next generation that always happens like that. During one of PlayStation's press conferences, I can't even remember. When I first saw Second Son, I was blown away. Again, I had that same reaction. Is this a game? Is this gaming's future or whatever? And I think that Halo Infinite is going to do that. I think that seeing more cyberpunk, which is confirmed to show up at E3, we don't really know where and in what capacity, but will be at E3, possibly, probably, most definitely at Microsoft's press conference. That is exciting. That I'm looking forward to Xbox's efforts. I really am, and I think it's going to be quite special. Nintendo's where things get kind of tricky. It's kind of hard to look forward to what Nintendo has. I mean, obviously, there's Luigi's Mansion 3, there's a new Animal Crossing, Pokemon Sword and Shield, a new Smash character, possibly. There's lots to be excited about, but that's kind of it. I think that a Nintendo Direct, those kinds of things are kind of harder to predict and harder to kind of dip into and talk about. I think that just seeing those games alone, the games I just mentioned, is enough. I'm good after that. You show me like 5 minutes of each of those games, you have yourself a really good Direct. But obviously there's going to be some surprises, and that's kind of like out of my territory. I don't really know what to expect. I'm obviously going to be doing some prediction videos in the future, further installments of Critical Chat, where I kind of break things down a little bit more and talk more in depth about each of these press conferences. But Nintendo is always the trickiest one, because they always have like kind of the weirdest oddball little games here and there that are really fun to watch in the moment. So definitely looking forward to Nintendo. Ubisoft, as I mentioned during Microsoft's spiel, they're going to show off some next-gen stuff. Ubisoft always does. When we first saw, what was that game even called? When we first saw Watch Dogs, sorry, my mind is moving faster than my lips can move. When we first saw Watch Dogs, the first Watch Dogs, I mean, talk about a downgrade when the game released, but my goodness, that game looked pretty. We were saying PS4, absolutely, and yeah, but not that great. We're going to see a new Watch Dogs game, Watch Dogs 3. It's set in London, apparently, which is going to be cool. I think even earlier today, there was a brand new Tom Clancy game revealed, a Ghost Recon. I'm honestly so disinterested in Ghost Recon that I won't even bother to remember the title. But Ghost Recon Wildlands is a hugely successful game, so it makes sense that they have a new one, and that's going to be cool seeing. It's probably coming out this year. So, yeah, I'm at E3. It's going to be great. It's going to be really great. It's kind of hard not to be hyped, even though Sony's not going to be there. I think there's so much potential for all of these other companies to really shine, especially Microsoft, especially Ubi, and especially Nintendo. I think there's going to be those special moments for those press conferences. I completely forgot Bethesda. Bethesda has just completely escaped my mind. I forgot that they're even hosting a press conference. What are they going to show? What are they going to do? Bethesda last year I thought was, I don't want to say it's a terrible press conference. I thought that, you know, the things that they showed here and there were were kind of exciting. I mean, say what you will about Fallout 76, it might be the worst reviewed game of this generation, and it might be one of the worst games ever made, but they showed it off. It looked cool in the beginning, and seeing Rage for the first time and seeing that stuff, it worked. Obviously, we're getting a hell of a lot of Doom Eternal, which I am okay with, but is that the whole press conference? Are they going to be getting on stage just to talk about Doom Eternal? We've already seen kind of a lot of that game. I don't really need any more. I really don't. I thought we saw enough at QuakeCon, but who knows what they're going to show. I don't think they're getting into Starfield or Elder Scrolls 6. I think Todd Howard already confirmed that those are not having a place at E3, so that's kind of sad. I've been kind of dying to see more of those titles, but whatever, we shall see what happens. Bethesda's kind of a wild card at this point. I really don't know what they're going to be showing up. But as I mentioned, we are going to be doing a sort of prediction video on each of the big press conferences and talking more in depth. Might have a buddy with me, Phenom Sage, of course, discussing those things with me. It's always a fun time. E3's always a fun time, especially when you have friends nearby. And I will try my best to get on top of all of the crazy E3 rumors and news. This is kind of the beginning of my E3 coverage here on this channel. Hopefully it works. Critical Chat has been a sort of failure in the past, and I'm not going to put too much pressure on it. I'm going to keep it chill. I'm going to keep it relaxed. I just really like that intro. Honestly, I just wanted an excuse to use that intro again. So yeah, thank you very, very much for watching as always. Make sure to comment down below and give me your thoughts on all the excitement going into E3. Something I didn't mention, something that I forgot, comment below and leave it down there. I would love to kind of discuss these things with you guys. Is there like a specific thing that you are tremendously excited for? Do you think that Microsoft won't be good this year? Talk about it down below. Thank you again for watching. Hit the thumbs up if you enjoyed anything that I had to talk about today, and subscribe for more E3 2019. I almost said 2018. I don't even know what year it is anymore. Subscribe for more E3 2019 coverage. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye. So I forgot I did this this sort of a bonus level thing. It's a little thing at the end of the thing. I'm sitting on the floor right now. Like, this is floor. This is not comfortable. This place I'm living in is not meant for YouTube. I don't know how I'm going to be watching an entire press conference with you guys, sitting on my knees, watching. It's going to be awful. I really have to figure this out. It's a really tough situation that I am. Like this here, this is just an office lamp. It's just, everything's just weird right now, and I have to definitely try to make things work here. I don't know. I'm feeling good about it though. Like the lighting's not terrible. Again, like I have this lamp here, and I don't know. It feels weird. I've literally had to stop recording like 5 times during this video because my feet were asleep. I was putting too much weight on my feet, and I had to like walk around the room, pace the room, come back, sit down, and keep talking. That's why this video was a little more jump cutty than most of my videos, but it'll work. We'll try to make it work. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see.